G'day, I'm Sarah Williams, romance author and independent publisher at Serenade Publishing. Today I'm chatting to Vanessa Carnevale, whose latest book, The Memories That Make Us, has just been released. Thanks for joining me, Vanessa.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. I'm so happy to be chatting to you today.
I just finished your book, The Memories That Make Us, and it was absolutely fabulous, and we'll chat about it in a minute. But first, can you tell us about your author journey so far?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm so glad that you enjoyed the book. It's been quite the journey. I always say to people that ask me about, have you always wanted to be a writer and so on, I always say, I've come to this really, I consider myself first a reader and then a writer. I have always really loved reading, as an avid reader of books as a child. Only it took me a really, really long time to actually do something about it. It wasn't until 2014 when I sat down to write The Florentine Bridge that it was a couple of years actually before that. My children were quite young at the time. I started writing picture books because I was reading a lot of picture books to my kids, and I was immersed in that beautiful fictional world of, that going back to your own childhood through reading to them. And that inspired me just to just dabble, I call it, really, just in picture book writing. I took a course, and they're actually really quite difficult to write, picture books, because you have a certain number of words to work with, and then you've got a certain number of pages, and you've got to leave with illustrations and so on. But I did sort of dabble in that, and then as my kids grew older, I was then not reading so many picture books. We were moving into middle grade, and then I was starting to read, because I've always been a reader, but I thought, no, you know what, I'd like to write an adult novel. But 2 years prior to actually sitting down to write The Florentine Bridge, I had this really, really strong urge to write a book. I just didn't know what it was going to look like. I just knew it was just a strange feeling. I'd wake up every single morning feeling like I wasn't on the right path, that I needed to take that path towards writing something. And just to digress a little bit, with The Florentine Bridge, I actually, after high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and I moved to Florence. So I basically deferred uni and I went overseas, and I fell in love with Tuscany, and I met my husband over there. And it was at the time that Frances May's Bella Tuscany and Under the Tuscan Sun memoirs were out. They were very, very popular at the time, and I just loved them. And I started writing notes about my life in Italy, because when you're overseas as an expat, even though I do have Italian heritage, it was still all very new to me, the way, the whole thing, the food, the culture, the people, the scenery, the history of it. And so I started writing notes about my life over there. With that, you can hear my dog pitter-pattering in the background, just excuse him. So I started writing notes about my life in Italy, and I thought to myself, you know what, one day this might come in handy for a book. But I didn't really know what to do with it. So I held on to those notes and sent them to my mum. My mum keeps everything. She actually knows how to find things after you send them to her. And so if we fast forward, it was probably 14 years later when I just couldn't ignore that urge to write something. That I sat down one Saturday afternoon and I rang my mum and I said, Mum, do you remember those notes that I sent you, from when I was living in Italy? And she goes, oh yeah, I remember. Within half an hour they were in my inbox. I was reading over them. I was transported back to Florence. I was reminded about, those feelings of stepping off a plane and, immersing yourself into this new world. Anyone that's travelled can probably really relate to that. And from there, Mia's character came to me. And I ended up writing that whole first draft over a period of 6 weeks. It just, I don't know, I've never had that experience since. It just kind of poured out of me. I was lucky enough that book was the one that I was able to find an agent with, and it ultimately sold to Harlequin Australia in a 2-book deal. So that's how I am here today, releasing my second novel. So
Excellent, yes. And The Florentine Bridge, so that was out 2 years ago? Was it?
It was out in January last year.
In January last year, there we go.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. So you've done really well to get 2 out in 2 years then.
Yeah, I mean, it's at times it feels very slow, traditional publishing, because it doesn't move all that quickly. But for me, definitely a book a year is a stretch for me. I find it quite, it takes me a long time to kind of come up with ideas and then really cement those ideas, and then I need time to write. So, yeah, it is a bit of a stretch, but I do enjoy it. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So what were you doing career-wise before you were writing?
Before I was writing, I was actually in real estate and property sales, and I wasn't very happy.
No wonder.
Sales is a tough gig. It's really, there's a lot of pressure when you're having to front up to meetings and explain, how many sales you've done for the week or the month and what you're going to do about it. But in many, many ways, I'm very thankful for that experience. I remember at the time being really unhappy in that corporate job. I was working over 50 hours a week, and it was, I found it very difficult with 2 young children to be, in that corporate world. Just juggling it all was just all very hard. But what that job, I couldn't see it at the time, but what that job did for me was it gave me a thick skin in terms of rejection. And I hate using the word rejection, because when we're talking about rejection from publishers, I like to think of them as passes, because they're, I think it's really important for writers, especially if they're going down that path, to remember they're not rejecting you, they're just rejecting, they're just passing on that, the work itself. It's not something to take personally. And in my sales job, I remember having on my phone a sticker saying, every no is one step closer to a yes. And then underneath that, I would have the words next with an exclamation mark. So, if there was one client maybe not interested, then I would just move on to the other and not take it personally. So that was actually a blessing for me, because that's kind of like the way that I view things now. So anytime I would have gotten, notes from agents saying that they were passing, I'd just say, okay, that's fine, we'll just move on, and we're going to be one step closer to a yes. So it's really important, I think, to maintain that positivity if you're going to be doing this.
That's right. And everyone will say this, when you're submitting manuscripts, it's, it just might be that editor that day doesn't work for them, or it's not going to work for their line, or there's all sorts of reasons that you'll get passed over one day, and it always happens for a reason. Obviously, it's all worked out brilliantly for you. So you're published, who's your publisher again?
Harlequin Australia.
Harlequin Australia. Excellent. And you've got an agent that you work through? Yeah.
Yes, I do. So my agent is over in the States. She's in New York. So, we email a lot and Skype when we need to. So that works really well.
Oh, that's brilliant. And do you find it's useful having an agent? I know a lot of authors will bypass them.
Yeah, look, for me, it's been the best thing. Honestly, it's I think I like having an agent for many reasons. One is having that person to go to bounce ideas off, to brainstorm with. Anytime before I sit down to write a book, I will put together like a little 1 to 2 sentence kind of pitch that she can see, just for her to assess whether she feels like, has commercial viability, whether the idea is there, whether she feels like it could be a good fit. And I like having that. I like having someone to talk to about those things. She's also really great in terms of just, I think, when you're dealing with contracts and things like that, I don't necessarily want to be having to worry too much about that side of things. I'm happy for someone else to sort of have my back with that side of things. And, she worked her weight in gold. Like, she gives me editorial feedback, which has been really great for me. As I said, The Florentine Bridge is my first novel. So I have still got a lot to learn. I'm continually learning, and I really like having someone to go to that is able to give me, suggestions on my work. That's what I need at the moment. It's not all agents are editorially hands-on. So if people are out there looking, you might want to sort of investigate whether your future agent is going to be able to give you feedback if that's what you're after. So I really like having an agent, and it's just been very worthwhile for me.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So you've got a personal love story. Tell us about that. We want to know.
It's funny, because when I was writing The Florentine Bridge, I remember saying to myself, all of my friends are going to think that Luca is Fabio, my husband, which his name, yes, is Fabio. Can you believe it? He does not have long blonde hair, no. But no, the love story of The Florentine Bridge is definitely a fictional story, but I do have in common the fact that I went overseas and fell in love with a waiter at a restaurant one night. And I ended up moving overseas, and the rest is history. So, we were on a tour bus, and the tour bus takes you to a typical Tuscan restaurant, and my husband was there working that night, and he asked me to dance. in front of everybody at the restaurant. And the funniest thing that we joke about is that when we go to weddings and we go to parties, we are the couple that never dances, yet that was how we actually connected in the first place. It's quite funny. But yeah, I lived in Tuscany for a few years, and then I got homesick, and then we moved back here to Australia for 2 years, and then he got homesick, and so we moved back to Italy again. It was just a very much back and forth before we had kids. And then finally, when we sort of said, no, we're going to settle down and have a family, that was when I decided, or we decided, that bringing them up in Australia was going to be the best thing for us. And so we've been here ever since, and we're nice and settled. And now, really, because my in-laws are overseas, and I love Italy. We travel back as often as we can as a family for family holidays / riding retreats now.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I bet your kids are fluent in Italian.
Yeah, look, they're pretty good. I mean, they don't speak fluent Italian at home, but when they're over there, it's amazing how quickly they pick it up again.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. My son's obsessed with Italian at the moment. He's very good at languages. I don't know where he gets that from. So he's always like, I want to go to Italy. I'm like, I'll come with you. That'll be great.
Definitely should.
So tell us about your retreats.
So the retreats, yeah. So in 2016, I hosted my first riding retreat in Florence, and that was just a wonderful experience. It had the 17th century villa, and there's a swimming pool, and it's just set amongst these olive trees, and just literally like what you imagine Tuscany to be. That location is just ideal. And so we took a group there. My husband comes along and he helps out with all the little bits and pieces, shopping, groceries, setting up breakfast and so on. So it's a lovely thing to do. And I just find the writing retreats just so rewarding because I love writing, and, that's my thing. But as you know, Sarah, writing, it can be like quite a solitary experience. We spend months on end in front of the computer with our own work. And yes, we might have conversations with other writers, but to actually spend that immersive time together for, a week, it's just really rewarding for me as someone that's helping other writers, because I give them feedback, we have workshop sessions, that sort of thing. And it's just lovely seeing people coming in that maybe are either apprehensive about writing, they've had this dream for such a long time and they're wanting to do something with it, and they just feel drawn to coming along, and then you see them leaving and they've got an idea and they're pumped and they're going to go for it, and that's really rewarding for me. There might be other writers that are just trying to kind of work out which direction they want to go in, and again, I can sort of help them with that, and that just gives me, I guess, a sense of purpose outside of the actual writing. So I love it. So we've got Tuscany again in September this year, and then I started doing them in Daylesford, Victoria, small country town about an hour and a half from Melbourne. And I'm doing that one with Lisa Island, author of Lisa Island, and we're doing that in April. So busy year.
Excellent. So that's coming up next month. It's already in March already. I can't believe it. So wow. So you're very, very busy at the moment, and your book, The Memories That Make Us, has just come out, and I was fortunate enough to get an early reader copy, and it was just brilliant. Really well done. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
And I have been to Daylesford. I've been to a wedding there when I lived in Melbourne once. So I do remember the town, and I can absolutely understand why you'd want to set a book there. So tell us about writing that book and why you chose Daylesford.
Okay, well, Daylesford is somewhere that I love going to visit. For people that haven't heard of Daylesford, it's located in Victoria's Macedon Ranges, and it's known as Spa Country. So it's very close to a place called Hepburn Springs, where there's these mineral springs, and it's really the haven for, girls' weekends away, couples' weekends away. It's known as a very romantic type town. There's a main strip with bakeries and cafes. It's just got this lovely small town vibe to it. And the other thing about Daylesford is that with The Memories That Make Us, it's a story that is set on a fictional flower farm. And so it was really important to me, with our Australian climate, which is, not that cold, I needed to find a place to set this book that was going to have a climate conducive to growing flowers. And so I did consider Tasmania. I travelled to Tasmania and was checking out, different places over there. But then I just felt called back to setting it in Daylesford. And then the other thing about Daylesford, there are actually some real flower farms in the area. So I was able to visit those and just get a feel for those as well as part of the research. So
brilliant. And it is a beautiful storyline. Do you want to tell us what it's about?
Yeah, sure. So it's about a woman by the name of Gracie who, after an accident, is left unable to remember most of the elements of the past, including her late mother and her fiancé Blake, who she's supposed to be marrying in 3 months' time. And Gracie basically doesn't take the path that we might expect her to. She really is quite traumatised after the accident, and she decides that she wants to find out who she is without the influence of other people telling her who she was and how she should be. And so that leads her to basically reviving an old flower farm that has connections to her life as a child. And it's a love story, so it's maybe not your conventional love story, but it's a love story at the same time. And yeah, it's just a story of self-discovery and, really finding yourself once everything is lost. So yeah, it was a joy to write. It wasn't an easy book to write, but I really loved writing it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I do highly recommend it. And the Florentine Bridge is out. It's been out, like we said, for over a year, and it's out in audio as well. So that's pretty exciting for you. Did you have any say on the voice or anything like that?
No, it just all happened. So it
Excellent.
still happens. So I don't know, maybe one day, but yeah, no, sort of let the powers that be do what they needed to do. So.
That's it. And The Memories That Make Us is out in Australia, and got a bit of news about that one too.
Yeah, so it's actually, I'm really thrilled about this, especially given the Australian setting of the novel. I think it's really exciting that it will be available in the UK and US. UK is coming out with, it's the 1st of March today, so out tomorrow, there, 1st of March, it's going to be out in ebook, worldwide in English, and then the UK is going to come out with their paperback copy in their summer. So yeah, really exciting.
Excellent. That is brilliant. So what are you working on now, Vanessa?
At the moment, I'm having a bit of a rest period because I'm doing things like this, chatting to people like yourself, doing a lot of events and so on. But I've written the manuscript for what I hope will become my 3rd novel, published novel, and so I need to get back to revising it. And I'm probably going to be in for a big shock when I go back to it because it's been sitting there resting for a little while. And that one is. How do I put it when I don't want to really give too much away? I'm still trying to work out what it is. I really feel like you don't know fully what your story is about until you actually go in there and roll up your sleeves and revise. But it's about the depth of love, it's about motherhood, it's about marriage, it's about it centres around a moral dilemma. So it's about a couple that really want to become parents, but life throws them a pretty major curveball. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, very vague, but what it's about.
I'm going to be biting my fingernails waiting for it to come out. That's excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Where can we find you online?
You can find me on my website. It's vanessacarnevale.com. I'm also on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm in all the places, and you can find all the links to where I am on social media on my website.
Excellent. So go out and read The Memories That Make Us and The Florentine Bridge. You won't be disappointed. And they've got rave reviews online. So, yeah, definitely a good way to spend your weekend.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.